Meeting to order for the City of San Juan Commission today, Tuesday, May 10th, 2016, at 6:02. We can rise for the invocation. Mr. Arjona, can you lead us in an invocation?
Dear Lord, as we meet today to conduct city matters, please guide our hearts and minds in the spirit of fairness, thought and speech. Provide us your wisdom so that we may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for all the blessings. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Y'all may be seated. Public comments? presentations. We have presentations on departmental reports. That's Parks and Recreation Department, Planning Department, Memorial Library, and the Sanitation and Streets. Are there any questions on any of these items?
I do have one.
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Ponce, I know you stayed here, the scoreboards have been installed for the new baseball scoreboards?
Yes, Commissioner. Actually, we've installed them. We're just, with one of them, we're just having a little trouble with some of the electrical. So the one in Mayfield is actually functional, and the one in the unnamed field is just needs to be a little bit issues with the wiring, but it should be ready by, hopefully by tomorrow. So they're both already up and posted.
Okay, thank you.
And they look really, really good. I wanted to ask you, on the summaries by the revenue coming in, Mr. Ponce, I see that under soccer, that's one of the highest yielding as far as fees coming in. Is that one season that we have it, or you just have a larger enrollment for this particular sport?
Well, for soccer, Mayor, we actually we had 29 teams, but it's actually our largest sport is basketball, followed by baseball. But we grew significantly as far as our soccer registration. We have 29 teams in soccer. So
Are we using that field that the school district was letting us have on Owasso?
not yet, Mayor. We'd have to do some infrastructure work there, and we have to also get an interlocal. That's something that was never completed as far as the interlocal agreement, the land lease.
Okay.
But that's something that we're hoping to do for this coming fall.
That's very good. I thought those was very good numbers, and they're growing, I think, every time that y'all present them. And I wanted to thank you for all the work that y'all did on the National Day of Prayer, along with the city secretary. I know it was a conjunction with several departments, and that came out pretty well. So thank you for that. And then the Earth Day, if you want to tell them about the tree that was planted, I thought that was very significant.
There was a tree that was planted there at our wetlands, and it was in memoriam for Mr. Robles, the Robles family. The students were able to, actually, they planted that tree, and that's was out of, again, in memoriam for the student that passed away, I believe it was last year. Yeah, so they planted that, and that'll be his tree.
I know that the students had a really moving moment as they gathered around that place and did the digging. At some point, we took over, but I thought that was a very beautiful gesture that y'all did. And thank you for that. Are there any questions in any other departments?
One more for Mr. Ponce. The flyer, Mr. Ponce, for the summer programs, is it ready? When is it
Yes, actually, Commissioner, we're just waiting on, we're ready to go to print. We're just waiting with PSJA, since they're doing some construction at the old San Juan Middle School. There was letting us know what rooms we're going to be able to use, after all. So we kind of worked it out with Mr. Campos today, so he gave us the green light that we can use that facility as we have in the past. And we're adding a few new programs, so we need to get permission. Essentially, it's a joint venture where PSJ hires coaches as well. So they're going to hire some additional coaches. And what we're trying not to do is to print something that doesn't have all the information. I don't want to have any like to be determined or to be announced locations. And also to get verification that we were going to offer those sports. They're also doing a free golf program this summer. It'll be a month long. It'll be free for anybody in San Juan who wants to go and participate. And we're not going to be charging for that program because it is through the district and it's free. But we're going to help promote it and advertise it. So they're trying to grow their golf program. So that's one thing that we're kind of working out all the details. But IT has already developed the actual brochure. We just need to put the dates in, and we're going to get it published so we can have those out. And we start the programs on May 30th. Yeah. So this year we're trying to start a little earlier because we have you know, we found last year that a lot of the kids register a little later, so we want to have a longer registration period. So even if they come in, you know, a few weeks in June, the program's already going. We have our staff. I want to have our staff in place. The kids will come as the semester ends, I believe, the 27th. So then Monday we want to have everything in place. So we're already hiring. We're trying to fill positions already for the summer, and that we're ready to kick off by the 28th.
And did you figure out what we're doing
30th, I'm sorry.
with the pool, since we don't have a pool? Have you all made arrangements like we did last year, or how are we going to handle that?
We're looking at some potential partnerships, like we did last year, we partnered with Alamo. We're trying to see what we can work out with one of our neighboring municipalities. Obviously, you know, we're not in a place right now to move forward with our swimming pool, so we're looking at those options. But that's kind of what we're at as far as what we can get, something similar to what we got last year with the city of Alamo, just trying to work out some numbers.
Very good, thank you. I have a question for Mr. Cervantes. It actually comes under your report, but I want to touch on it either through you or through Mr. Arjona. You all mentioned that the meeting, you all had a May 5th meeting regarding the public substation, and it talked about reviewing the project's cost. When is that going to come for us? Because I know we had sent them off with a, do go back and take a look at the numbers and then and show us what we could trim off so that we can go out and know how much we're needing.
Right. When we met, we're supposed to bring it for you all on the next meeting with the final numbers, the design as well, and pretty much everything. They'll be here on the next meeting.
And by that time, Chief, you'll be able to identify how much funding we have in the forfeiture? 'Cause
Yes,
I know that we've
yes,
talked
Mayor.
about that, and is there a freeze on the forfeiture money at this point?
No, as a matter of fact, we are expecting a huge check coming in, so that's something that we discussed in the meeting. So the PD will be ready by the time that we start on the project. I think that the funds will be there already available through the.
What are you thinking, what are you estimating, Chief, that would be coming in forfeiture?
Well, it's already been awarded, Mayor. We
Okay.
just pending the date is gonna be deposited into our account, but it's already been awarded.
Okay,
So it's 30% of about $700,000, so we're looking at about a little bit over 200,000 that's going to be deposited into our account.
200,000? Okay. And then you'll keep us abreast on that. If you can have those numbers available when we do discuss it, so we know how much is in forfeiture, how much is anticipated, and then we can find out if we're going to go out for any kind of financing.
Yes,
That would be.
we do that, Mayor. Yes.
Okay.
Will Mr. Eli from BBK be here next
Yes,
meeting?
Yes, he will be giving a PowerPoint presentation with all the cost estimates. There are going to be some infrastructure improvements that the city will have to fund because they don't qualify under asset forfeiture. So he will be explaining that, including the utility expenses for electricity, water. So you will get a full presentation at the next meeting, and if the presentation goes well, the project will proceed. We should go out for bids in about a month or two, if the presentation is approved. And
So what's the estimated time as far as breaking ground if our next meeting, everything goes well?
I think they mentioned last week, we will be going out for bids in June.
Part of June,
Yeah.
part of June.
Opening bids in July, starting construction in September. And then the project will be completed in the spring or summer of next year, if everything
Estimating
goes.
about, they were estimating about maybe 12 months, but they're
N-
saying
ni-
that it'll be
9
9 to 12
months.
months. Yes,
Yeah,
it
9
shouldn't take
months.
more than 12. He's estimating anywhere between 9 to 12, but he's probably saying, well, it's weather permitting, but no more than
Are
10,
we
12
doing the
months.
infrastructure first or
Well,
simultaneously?
Well, it's part of the project. It's because the project will require some water line improvements, a fire hydrant, and there's a storm sewer line that will need to be installed that will connect to the one that we're doing for Las Flores.
Right.
So
So
there's
is
some,
the Flores going to be taken only up to the point of the property line behind the police
the
station?
Las Flores is gonna, from the South Street, it's
Right.
gonna go east and then south. So it's gonna
So
be in
it
the
will go
south,
through the back
and
of
it's gonna be in the
property.
south end of the property.
Okay,
The police station is gonna be in the north
Right.
end, close to Ridge. So a storm sewer line will need to be run from the building all
got
the
it.
way to the south end of the property. So that will be part of the building cost, and that's an expense that will have to be funded by the city because it doesn't qualify under asset forfeiture. So water, the sewer, the storm sewer, and at the next meeting, you're gonna get a presentation on the estimated expenses for that.
so, and we're timing it so that as we're building the building, we already have the infrastructure in the back to be able to connect to.
Yes, we just this morning, we had a pre-bid conference for the Paseo de las Flores storm drainage project.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna be opening bids next week. In a month or two, it should start construction. It's gonna be about 4 months, 4 to 5 months of, so it's gonna be more or less at the same time.
Very good.
Yeah.
That sounds good. All right, thank you. And I guess as we're getting closer to that, Mr. Salinas isn't here. Mr. Salinas, we'll be advising the residents about when we get ready to start boring into the streets and anticipation of when the work will start in that area.
Yes, ma'am. We'll be coordinating with whatever contractor gets the job. The only interruption we foresee is on the sanitary sewer on the crossings, some of the
Right.
services. We don't foresee any interruption to water, potable water service, just sanitary sewer. So we will be coordinating very closely with the contractor at the time of the construction.
And the drainage that's being put in, the pipe and the drainage, are we going to be tearing up street to the last street? Is that what we're going to be doing, or through the back of the properties? or-
Unfortunately, yes, ma'am. We will be tearing up some sections of the road, and I believe it's the last section, the back section of the south section of the subdivision.
Yeah, the South Street.
Where the
It's gonna-
cul-de-sac and all of that is?
Yeah, it's gonna be torn up, but part of the project is to repave it.
Okay, so that's what I mean too, and getting the residents ready and giving them enough.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we'll be
fair
coordinating. We'll also be working close with Ms. Gonzalez, because there'll be some other road closures along the way.
I see.
Well, we'll have to shut down the entire road in order to get the construction going quickly through that area to alleviate the traffic congestion as part. The one good thing about it, that'll be done during summer, so there will be no
Yes.
bus traffic for schools. So that will allow for the construction to continue faster.
Sounds good. Thank you. Any other questions on any of the reports? All right, moving on to item B, presentation of the city's newly developed mobile application. Mr. Baca.
Mayor, Commissioners. The San Juan IT department has been developing a mobile app that's compatible on both platforms, Android and Apple. We've been developing it for a while. I want to acknowledge Ms. Melissa Morales, our ex-employee, who she was leading the project and she worked on 90% of the project. And unfortunately, she left us before she could even do the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and just show you some of the stuff that's covered on the app and what's the possibilities of what we're going to be adding later on. This is how the mobile app is going to look like when we launch it from the phone. The first tab here is SJI report, where citizens can basically click on it. And they can actually fill out their name, their email, their phone number, and they can press on this button, which is automatically going to pick up the address where they are currently at. And it's going to fill it out here. Or they can manually fill out their address. And then after that, they can take a picture from their phone and upload it, or a video. Or a video and then send it. And basically they can select to where they're going to route this, depending on what it concerns. And then internally this goes to the right department so that we can follow up on
Go
it.
down to the selections, Mr. Baca. So if they were to hit, for example, the animal control, the first one, you have it programmed so that the folks at planning automatically are going to get that notified?
We're currently doing it manually. So all these notifications go to one person,
I see.
and that person funnels it to the right department through an email, and that's how we're going to track it. At a later stage, and basically when hopefully we get a software for the planning department, which actually works on tracking orders, work orders. We're going to integrate it with this system, and that's going to handle funneling the right request to the right department.
So you don't have somebody having to be watching, because basically if somebody sends something, it would be your department that gets notified that something's been sent, and then it's when you get to it to send it over.
As of now, the requests are going to the city secretary's department,
I got you.
and they're actually sending it to the right
She'll be
department.
sending it, okay.
Eventually, we're going to have a system where citizens, after they submit a request, they can track it. Because most importantly, they need to know what's happening.
Right.
And hopefully we can have a tracking system where they know where the request is at. The second tab is latest news. And basically this is going to pull up the latest news from the city website. And this is actually live, so it pulls up every time you open it, it pulls up the latest news. Actually today we launched our utility payment system, so people can call this number to pay their water bills through an 800 number. It's an automated system. So this was actually launched today. They can actually click on the latest news and they can read about it. This third one is a calendar. It's a city calendar, so it shows okay. This platform is working now. This is not the actual mobile app. So the mobile app works differently, and that's why, for example, the button for the address doesn't work now, because this is not actually on the mobile. But supposedly this should open a calendar, and then you can see the city's calendar, all the events and everything that's happening
And that's
around
going
the
to be
city.
channeled through whom? Is every department going to be able to go in there and put their event, or does it go through one central place also before it gets posted?
Basically, everything that the departments send us
Okay, so
gets
it's through
posted on
your
the website.
departments.
Yes,
Okay.
gets posted on the website, and this app is pulling all the events from the website. That's how it works. The same thing with the job postings. These are actually being pulled from the website. You can see the job postings, and this is Melissa's job posting for the IT department, and you can click on it and read it. Of course, as of now, we don't have any way to apply for a job through the app. But once we launch it on the website, we also don't have it on the website. Once we launch it on the website, it's also going to be integrated in the app. We have the agendas. On the agendas, we only have the past 4 years, 3 years actually. So 16, 15, 14, and the minutes, the same thing, the past 4 years. On the website, if you visit the website, we actually, with the help of the City Secretary's Department, we have already uploaded back to, I think, 2007.
What's that?
Agendas and minutes. But here, so that it loads faster, because it's going to be using the data from their phones, we don't want to load all the previous years, so we're only loading 4 years of agendas and 4 years of minutes. This is the live stream button, so people can go on here to watch the city meeting. Online payments. They can pay their municipal court fees or utility billing from this website, which is compatible with all mobile phones. They can submit all the forms that we have online. They can be submitted from the app, and when they click on the form, it opens and it's compatible with the app. And if they need to sign a document, they can actually sign it with using their finger. They can do a digital signature and send it in. They can contact the city by calling any of the departments by just tapping those numbers. So
It goes straight to the department, or it goes to the?
it goes straight to the department.
Oh.
When they tap any of these, it goes straight to the department. They can access our YouTube channel to view the latest videos. And the same thing with Facebook, to view the latest updates on Facebook. We're looking to add more features to the app. Hopefully when we get a system for the planning department, we're going to integrate it with the app. Same thing with the city commission agendas and minutes system. We're going to integrate it in the app. Everything that we implement at the city level, we're going to try to integrate it with the city app. But for now, the first version is going to be looking like this. Hopefully, we'll update it soon.
Very impressive, Mr. Baca. We had gone out, Mr. Baca, which is very typical of a city, to hire an outside source to develop this. What would that have cost us? What is it going?
We had previously had some, 2 years ago, I attempted to get some pricing on developing a website app. It starts at 10,000, and it can go up to 20 or more. It depends on what we're doing on the app. And this is costing us like $600 a year.
Incredible.
Yeah.
You're very good.
That's it. So, thank you.
Well, thanks to yourself and to your department that know to work that, and the rest are going to be
Thank
able to feed into this. It definitely makes it a great feature, and we just need to let the people know now that they can download this app.
Yes, the app is already available on Google Play and App Store, so it can be downloaded. I know Parks and Recreation, they already have a system, but it's not there yet because the company are making it responsive to the mobile phones, so they're planning to launch it in the coming month. Once their update hits our system, then we're going to integrate it in this system so that everything, all the registrations and the follow-up on the programs and the leagues can be done through the app also.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. That's a great project that you've made reality. I know you've been working for a while, so thanks to the rest of your departments. Next, we're going to have a presentation on the Mayfest Festival. Mr. Ponce.
Mayor, members of the commission.
Good evening.
Mayfest is going to be next Saturday. Everything's kind of fallen into place right now. We're expecting a good turnout. The bands have been already contracted, and we have our vendors that have been coming in. The advertising is already going out. It's on radio. It's on Univision. We're going to have Mr. De Los Rios has been able to procure Glacier as our main sponsor. So at this point, we're feeling pretty comfortable that it should go on as planned, and you should not see too much of a difference to the other events that we've done as far as Noche de Paz and the previous Cinco de Mayo.
Very good. I know you have a different, you're bringing in a lot of water park type of, lot of slides and that kind of thing.
There's some of the things that we're doing a little bit different is we are actually going to have we have, I believe, 14 water slides or water features. It'll be a combination of water slides and like slip and slides. We're going to put those at the park, inside the baseball field, I'm sorry. Inside the baseball field, so we'll be able to have that as a feature where kids can buy a bracelet, they can come in and they can enjoy those type of activities. Also, along with the traditional kiddie carnival rides that we usually have.
So are we letting the folks know that they need to bring their swimwear as well as we're advertising?
Yes, and actually it's something we're working on with Hussein, that we're going to make sure to bring, proper attire, bring a towel, things of that nature. And of course, we'll have our traditional food booths as well. We're trying to make sure we get the word out that we'll have the feature for the first time. I think it's going to be pretty warm that day. So I think it'll be a nice feature for our community.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Ponce?
Cost of the wristbands.
The wristbands, I believe, are going to be $5, sir.
$5?
Once again, along with like those more water slides, the, with the horse playing and all that, kids, slippery, slip and fall. How are we doing that?
Commissioner, it's going to be on the field itself, on the outside of the outfield of the softball field. We're gonna, the company's actually gonna have attendants there. They're gonna be supervising, watching, because there's gonna be like, we're gonna have water hoses, they're gonna be, they have to spray down the slides every now and then, there's the connections. So we're gonna have their staff, and we'll have some staff also kind of just overseeing, making sure that obviously that we're trying to avoid any type of injury or any type of incidents. It's, I think, very similar, a little bit different than obviously in the carnivals, but we are gonna put a little more detail in making sure that
Yeah.
kids get a little excited with the water slides, so.
Very good. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Ponce. Under public hearings, ordinance, A, consider the adoption of an ordinance in the first reading, repealing the ordinance 15-23 for the purpose of establishing fees for services provided by the City of San Juan. Mr. Cervantes.
As for the consensus reached during the previous city commission meeting, the 3% inspection fee for new subdivision applications coming to the city is proposed to be increased to 4% of the cost of the value of the infrastructure. Doing this will help the general fund, since as for our recently approved city engineer contracts, 2% of that value will be used to pay the city engineer assigned to the subdivision for the firm's cost of reviewing plans, attending meetings, and conducting field inspections related to that particular subdivision. The difference from the previous ordinance is highlighted in red.
Do we need to have any language of where we're using that money specifically?
Oh.
No? We do it, where do we do that,
It will become a city policy.
for policy?
Yeah, it's just, this is what we need to do. So new subdivisions coming in, they will be charged the 4% as opposed to 3%.
Any questions? Not, is there a motion for approval as presented?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. B, hold a public hearing and consider the adopting of an ordinance on the first reading amending the City of San Juan Code, adopting a water conservation and drought contingency emergency management plan. Mr. Salinas?
Mayor, Commissioners, recognizing the need for efficient use of water supply, Sixth Commission on Environmental Quality has developed guidelines and requirements governing the development of water conservation and drought contingency plans for public water suppliers. The Texas Administrative Code, Title 30, Part 1, Chapter 288, Subchapter A, has minimum guidelines and requirements for water conservation and drought contingency plans. As of May 1st of 2005, a public water supplier for municipal use shall review and update the water plan as appropriate. The City of San Juan last amended the plan back in August 9th of 2011. We're due for an update this year. This will allow us, by having a public hearing, allow us to get comments from the public to see if they want to make recommendations on how the plan should take hold. So basically, we'll be repealing the current ordinance and amending the plan, taking out items that were in the existing plan that no longer have to be there because they have to be updated on an annual basis. So we include in the plan, we'll have to bring it back to commission every year for amendment. So by doing it this way, we'll remove those items that are in the current plan and just put them as an annual report to the state.
I'd like to go ahead and open this public hearing at 6:40. Are there any members of the audience who wish to?
For or against this particular item? Any members of the audience for or against? The commission, are there any questions?
If I may add, ma'am?
Go ahead.
We are going to post a draft of the plan at the city, and then I will work with Mrs. Sean to have one available here at the library, and with Mr. Hussein to put it on the website as well. So if anybody would like to provide comments that way, we'll bring the comments at the next commission meeting.
Very good. Let me close this public hearing then at 6:40. Is there a motion for approval as presented?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Salinas. Under contractual resolutions, A, consider renewal of an interlocal agreement between the City of San Juan, Texas, and Texas A&M University, Kingsville, to continue the participation in the Stormwater Task Force. Mr. Cervantes.
Yes, the primary goal of the Stormwater Task Force is to implement a regional stormwater management program mandated by TCEQ, who regulates local governments on stormwater management and approves the city's stormwater plans to address broader water quality and watershed issues. In addition, this collaboration has enabled the participating communities and TAMUC to successfully secure over $14.8 million in grant funding since the program's inception. The A&M system is also planning to invest $50 million in infrastructure in the valley within 5 years as part of the Rio Grande Valley Initiative. This will include expanding the partnerships with the local school districts, including PSGA, ISD. In 2003, 14 cities partnered together to be part of this task force, and together we developed a small municipal separate storm sewer system program, which is also known as the MS4 program, as mandated by TCEQ. 17 cities in the valley are members of this task force, and we have a regional plan to be in compliance. We have funding in the budget for this.
That funding was specifically earmarked for this, or
Yes.
just?
Yes.
All right, are there any questions for Mr. Cervantes on this item? If not, is there a motion for approval as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Under B, consider the resolution amending the City of San Juan's investment policy. Mr. Garza.
Mayor, if I may, on the last meeting that we had, we appointed, the commission appointed Mr. Pablo Garza as the investment officer. As one of the policies by the Public Funds Investment Act, it states that the City of San Juan must report this on an annual basis. And that's pretty much what we're doing, make sure that the policies are updated, amended on an annual basis. There are some changes that are highlighted within your packet. If there's any questions on those, Mr. Garcia is there to answer those questions. But this is just an annual amendments that will be taking place for the investment policy.
I know that one of the, maybe a couple of years ago, on one of the audits, they talked about diversity. Do you find that we have implemented that better on diversifying the investments?
No, actually, this is something that I'm just adding to the policy, diversification, so we actually can have a market and look up for bank institutions that can actually give us a very interest rate.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Garza? If not, is there a motion for approval as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Passes. Under the consent agenda, the budget expenditure report for March 31st, 2016. B, consider the second and final reading of the ordinance for rezoning request from single-family resident district to manufactured home for property legally described as Lot 22 San Juan East Subdivision located 1102 West San Juan Circle as requested by Rosa Gaona. And C, approval of the minutes of April 26, 2016. Any items needed to be pulled? I'm going to talk on the, ask questions on the budget. You did a real good job in giving us some of the highlights, but I want to ask you some specifics, so make sure that we're on task at this time of the year. And again, this is only up to March.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Garza, some of the concerns that I have, or rather that I know that you are looking at, and I want the department heads to make sure that they are looking at the numbers as well with you, is that in some of these, that we're only at 6 months into it, the budget year, we have a few that are bordering the 100% or close to 80 or so. And one of the ones that turns out I see on some on travel with police. I also, some of them we've already spoken about. I know that the utilities, we talked about that 133, that's also travel. And I think it was, I don't know, we discussed it the last, but those are some that I'd like to know, what is our policy? Because if you don't have enough to travel, then you don't travel. What do we do with that?
Yes,
And
correct.
what's happening when they go over, and how do you reconcile that?
This is something that I have talked about with Mr. Arjona. We need to set up a process where actually the finance department also checks on the funding on every single account. Right now, they turn in a travel expense report to Mr. Arjona, and he needs to review it and approve it. But this actually go to finance. So this is something that we need to add into the travel expense report form. And I guess, we're going to be working on that on the next few weeks.
Yes, and if I may add, one of the things that is going on is that the department submit the travel request over to me instead of going over to Mr. Garza. So what we end up doing is sending it back to Mr. Garza for approval, and then final approval. And they say if there's enough funding, then it gets approved. Now, one of the things is that on the
But that
next,
hasn't been happening on some of these.
no.
What's enough funding?
Enough funding, well, if it's budgeted for, then, and if the funding is available, then it's approved. However, there may be some that may be an unforeseen, that something new came up. So then we'll look at it, we'll look at the budget if there's monies available. However, one of the things that we're looking at for this new fiscal year is that if we're going to three trainings, let's say, for instance, well, those need to be listed. and we need to appropriate some monies for those particular trainings or certification, whatever the case may be. But we cannot have 3 on the budget and go to 7 or 8. You know, we need to keep a tight budget on that. And if, like I said, if there's one that is an unforeseen one that was available, that is something important, like what happened at the utility department, and if it's not budgeted for, or the monies are available, then we'll allow that.
I mean, well, that makes sense, but like travel, that's one of the ones that you should be able to quickly be able to determine. And I would think that, do the department heads get a copy of, or do they see monthly what they have in their balances?
Yes,
So that they're aware of what they can or cannot?
yeah, basically, all of the directors have the freedom, I mean, to request this information from finance.
Right.
And I believe, I mean, Leroy was actually submitting those reports on a monthly basis, the same reports.
And now, if there's any overtime, because I know that some of these, I've seen in the past, late coming overtime issues. Overtime would only be if, like he said, unforeseen. We had a storm and we didn't anticipate, you anticipate so much overtime, I guess, in some departments.
Correct.
But if you don't, then those are unforeseen. So there really should not be a need to try to get overtime if you've already budgeted from the beginning of the year. There's a sense of how much you would have every year. You know, we end up having overtime because of X number of amount of situations that we can anticipate.
And there, yes, unless there's an unexpected
Right.
expense, right? I mean, that may be the only reason.
But that's how we break it down, don't we, Mayor? I mean, I guess go back the last 5 years.
Well, that's what I
see
would
what-
think. So if there is anything, overtime that might be being looked at, because I know that was an issue at, I don't know, it was the last time we looked at it or last year's?
It was last year.
Last year?
On the police department and the fireman department.
Okay, that overtime was, for whatever reason, was expended way above what they had. So I think we need to keep in check with that, with what we have allotted. And then if for some reason it's just an oversight or they didn't anticipate enough, how do you work with them to make sure it comes out of their budget and not from the reserve fund?
It's gonna have, anybody, that works directly to the general fund, fire department, police department, finance department, is gonna have to affect the fund balance, one way or the other.
I mean,
on
is
the
there something in
general fund.
in their budget, though, that they can either say, hey, we're not gonna get this after all because we're needing more to do something else?
Yes, we can say that, definitely,
I mean, is it something that you can work on?
yes.
I think that would be important.
Those are some of the things, Mayor, that before we hit the general fund, we look at reallocating some funding from different, codes from different objects, so that it doesn't, if it's overtime that is needed, but we have enough monies that left over on supplies, we can always transfer some of those monies over. But necessarily, we really don't like to hit the general fund at all, and we're not going to hit it, hopefully
No,
not.
that's not our plan.
Right, because we need to build that. Now let's talk about the EDC. One of the things that we talked about was that the last time you looked at it, there is only, I guess now there's like 50,000 left on that TVA account.
Correct.
And you were able to identify where that came from, the monies that they started using.
Yes,
And what
yes.
was that?
This runs back to 2009. They sold a property, I think it was located at Knights,
It's the property on First and Veterans, right in
First
the
and
corner.
Veteran. They sold that property back in 2009 for 186,000. So that's when you start showing an increase on the cash account.
The bank account?
It's
the
the bank
separate
account,
bank
the
account.
Compass bank account, correct. And then from there, they were not actually using that money from 2009 to 2013 because they were actually replenishing all of the expenditures through the Plains Capital bank account. So they were not actually using that money for the sale of the property. Now, they were also getting some sponsorships from different businesses, but it's not that much. I mean, we're probably talking about between 5,000 and 10,000 a year, right? Between 2009 and 2013, right? I haven't finished the audit for the next years.
So, but we know that according to the auditor, 2013, 2014, and 2015 were in a deficit.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes,
so at
everything
some
started-
point, they started tapping into the 186,000.
Yes, and I believe that happens between 2014-15 and 15-16. But I still need to check into that.
Okay, I think that's important to find out. And then now the practice is, did they have any policies? Because you didn't deposit purchasing of a property into a bank account for,
They do have some policies, but nothing is stated actually. I mean, the money that can actually go into that account. Yes, it actually states that only sponsorships money can actually go into that account.
that wasn't followed?
No,
Okay.
not,
Now, when you look at, as you're looking through that, I think things that's also important to look at is the travel. And that's why I bring it up, because I know they were using both the BBVA and the Plains Capital to do their travel. And at one point, they were reimbursing, and then we don't know how that ended up happening towards the end, and who was reimbursing or not. Did we ever find those files on the travel?
yes, they do have everything that basically belongs to the Compass Bank account. But we still need to match if they were actually also getting anything from the Plains Capital Bank account, right? I mean,
Like they were getting a per diem?
if they were getting per diem using the city funds or the Plains Capital Bank account, and they were also getting charging this debit card that they used to have.
So you'll be able to, as you get into these ones, be able to come back and tell us?
Yeah, we can track back on both
Now-
accounts.
Now, having looked at the financial situation they are right now, and the monies, and I know that you're just paying what is left over of the debt, of the monthly debts, what are you estimating that the monthly debts that are just like fixed debts that have to be paid?
Fixed, we're estimated between $30,000 to $40,000. That includes the bond payment and the Texas Leverage Fund.
Okay, and we get how much in?
Around 65,000.
So it doesn't leave very much when it comes to trying to build up on the reserve, which is the deficit of the 77 plus whatever else has been accumulated. Keeping the costs steady right now, because no employees, no monies, no grants, no anything, just the expenses that have to be paid because already entered to, and the money that's coming in, what do you estimate is the time frame before the EDC can clear the debt that they're in?
We're including the $218,000 that they owe to debt service. We may probably are talking about 6 to 7 months, so they can recover, if not more.
So you'll, whenever they have the EDC, they have the meeting, you'll be able to do that for them at the EDC, and then maybe bring that report back to us. And do a cash flow, so we understand how to retire the deficit and be able to eventually catch up with the debt.
Have that information ready.
Okay, and as far as them, I know that there had been some talk about a $3 million leverage. That's not able to be done, is it,
No.
Mr. Arjona?
No, ma'am. As a matter of fact, one of the recommendations from our financial advisor was to not even look into that at this point, maybe at a later time.
Can you get that in writing?
Yes, sir, I can do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm not done, sir.
Go ahead.
Who was the director at the time that that property was sold, do you know?
Mickey McCarthy.
Mickey McCarthy.
Yes.
And as far as the money that's owed to EDC from the city of San Juan,
Correct.
would that help with this debt? that's
Sure,
owed?
definitely. I mean, we can actually offset that liability, whatever they owe to debt service, yes.
And what is
that
the
can-
amount, if you remember?
218,000.
How much?
Whatever they owe to debt service, 218,000.
What the city owes to the EDC?
That I don't know.
You don't remember?
I don't have any
Haven't
idea.
been able to find that, huh?
And
We're
there's
looking,
nothing in
yeah,
our
we're still
books
looking at those
and-
files.
What was that again?
We're still looking at the minutes or files to see if we can find that information. But we have yet to come across finding
I
that.
know Mr. Eddie Garcia was on the board at the time, and I believe he mentioned some figure around 192,000,
Right.
172,000, somewhere around there. So maybe we can ask Mr. Eddie Garcia, see if we can get that information.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. Appreciate it. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Is there a second? All in favor state aye.
Aye.
A motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
It's been moved and second, moved by Commissioner Maldonado, second by Commissioner Ramirez. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned at 6:56.